Thank you everyone for joining us here today. This is Curran Bhatia, and he was supposed to be here today, but last minute thing came up with work and he wasn't able to make it, but he was gracious enough to still do a quick online interview so that you can still get a little insight into his life and his world. Now, would you like to share a little information about, college and what it was kind of like once you left college and ended up in the real world? Like, what was that like for you?
Sure. Yeah. Hello to everyone who's watching. My name is Curran Bhatia. Like you said, I went to college at NYU. I was always interested in film and TV. And when I left college, I wanted to get into film and TV. So I started using my skills, editing, shooting, and just working at small production houses, trying to get whatever work I can, editing work, things like that. And I was able to build up a little bit of a portfolio, and eventually I applied to a producer's position at HBO, which I was at for about 8 or 9 years. And now I still do freelance producing, but I also do on-camera work as well.
Okay. And so was it kind of tough getting a job, or did you kind of freelance for a while and then once you started looking for a job, it wasn't too difficult to find one with your skill set?
Yeah, I think the best thing I would say is create as much content as you can so that you're developing those skills, those shooting skills, writing skills, editing skills. Whatever you want to do, try to do that in a smaller level with some of your friends. There's so much out there, and I feel like with technology now, you could just pick up an iPhone and start creating. So I would say get out there and create as much content as you can so you can build up your portfolio and get experience that way. And that would probably be the best advice. The way it worked for me is because I worked on a lot of my own projects, I had some editing work to show smaller post houses. Then I was able to edit for those smaller post houses. And then I was able to use that portfolio to eventually get the job at HBO. So I would say, I mean, it is obviously difficult, but the more that you have in your portfolio and the more stuff you work on and the more you can do the more you can develop your skills, I think you'll obviously make it easier for yourself.
Okay, yeah, that's some great advice. And so would you say that when you were going for these small production houses, you had a lot of, it was mostly work that you did for projects in college, or was there also a good deal of stuff that you kind of made for fun with friends?
Yeah, I made a student film. I was before college. I was always into film and TV, so I started a film festival, and then in college I worked on a student film. And then when I worked at smaller post houses, the good thing is that at a small post house, you can get opportunities. So I was able to just edit some of the commercial pieces that were going to be used by clients, and so I was able to kind of get my hands dirty that way, and get got a lot of good experience with that. So on my own, I was doing my student film and working with friends and trying to get friends to be actors and writing and directing. And then on the professional side at that time, working at post houses, editing and putting together presentations and commercials and things like that.
Okay, awesome. Um, Now, with freelancing versus, working for a large company, uh, what are the pros and cons? And I know it's different for everyone, but would you say that you found one option to be better than the other?
Yeah, I think they're both great, and I think it's what you want. So obviously, if you have a staff position somewhere, you have that stability. Um, but freelancing is great too because you can, in a way, set your own schedule. You can take time off when you want to take time off. You can work on different things. So there's pros and cons to both, and I think it's just about finding whatever is the right fit for you. So if you can find a really good full-time position and that's something that you enjoy doing, then that's great. So I think it's different and for every person, and it depends on what type of freelancing you're doing. So I think it's depends on the individual, really, would be the best way to answer that.
And kind of going back to what you said earlier, would you say that whatever these projects that you made for classes in college or with your friends really help as a portfolio for getting these freelance jobs?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think that the biggest thing is that way you can be creative, showcase your work, create a portfolio. But I think the biggest thing is that helps sharpen your skills. If you want to be a writer, then you start writing. And then if you can take that through creating a pilot, then okay, the way I wrote it translated well in terms of us actually shooting this and putting it together. Or same thing with editing or shooting or whatever you want to do. So yeah, I would definitely say there's no harm in trying to create as much content as you can and getting your hands dirty and developing those skills.
So I've heard some people say that you don't want to take on too many jobs. Like, for example, you see some people on their resume, it says producer, director, editor, camera. Like they seem like they do everything. But I've heard from some people that they recommend kind of focusing on one or two positions that they feel that they're the strongest in. What do you think about that advice?
Yeah, I think you should really think about what you want to do. So if you really want to be a writer and that's what you're passionate about, I would say go for that. If you just like creating and you like film and TV, I don't think there's any reason that being a one-man band is a bad thing, because when those opportunities come, if an opportunity is there to be a DP or to be a writer, be an actor or whatever that is, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing to have in your portfolio. So I would suggest, if it depends on what you want to do, but if you are very passionate about writing or editing, sticking to that and kind of honing your craft. And I think that will make it easier for you to get further freelance gigs in that field. So let's say you want to be an editor and you start working with someone as an editor, and that first project goes well, that usually can roll into the next one, because then the next time that they have a project, they may call you and say, hey, are you available? So I would say it depends. If there's one aspect that you're really passionate about, go for that. But I don't think that there's that much harm in trying to be a one-man band where you can do a lot of different things.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if they know like one or two things that they're really passionate about, they should go after that. But if they kind of like a little bit of everything, there's no harm in doing everything.
Yeah, I think if you have all the skills, then you just have more to offer. And if you just want to be someone who's creating content, and let's say you're kind of bootstrapping and you're getting friends to help you out. So let's say one day you have a friend who can shoot, but there's no one there that can edit it in post, but you're able to do that, or vice versa. I think you can only help yourself out if you can do those other things. And I think the best way, in my experience, to learn those things is just like we've been talking about: create the content, get your hands dirty, and just start putting things out there and sending it to friends and family and getting feedback, and you'll get better every single time. You'll learn the equipment, you'll learn what you need to fulfill that creative process from beginning to end. So yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Um, okay, what kind of advice do you have for students that are into television and film but decide to pursue another path in college because they're afraid that there's not a lot of job stability or job security in the film and TV industries?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a different degree. So I was a double major in college at NYU. I was a double major in cinema studies, but I was also an economics major. And then I also supplemented my NYU education with filmmaking courses at New York Film Academy. So I don't think there's a harm ever in taking other course loads or anything like that. The only thing I guess I would disagree with is I do think there are a lot of opportunities to work in entertainment. There's so many different things you can do, whether that be freelance or staff positions. And I think there's a lot of big media companies out there. There's a lot of big networks. There's a lot of big outlets. And as we know, more and more streaming companies are coming about, and everyone needs content. So I personally think that there is a lot of opportunity out there. So I think if that's film and TV and production is what you want to be involved in, I would certainly go for that. But I don't obviously think there's any harm in having a double major or a minor or anything like that. I think that's, having that safe bet, I think, is great too.
Hmm. Yeah, I was asking because I've talked to some people that said they were passionate about TV and film, and then they decided to completely not do any of that in college, and they decided to go for something like business, or which they felt might be more stable. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the individual what you're passionate about. Obviously, there's many opportunities to work in business in a media company or a film company or anything like that. So there's opportunities obviously to merge those two as well. So I think it really just depends on what you're passionate about, what you want to go after. But my overall point though is there are so many uh, sets out there that if you're starting out, they need like a PA or a runner or something to kind of just help out, just to be an extra set of hands on set. And I think if you are starting out, that's a great place to just get experience, kind of work your way up the ladder, meet contacts. And so I do think those opportunities are definitely out there.
So you agree more with the mindset that, you know, if you're really passionate about something, you can kind of find a job in pretty much any industry as long as you're passionate about it and you're good at what you do, you can find a job anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even more so, just finding a job. I mean, I feel like the way social media is, technology is, I think that if you want to be a personality or an actor, you can record yourself on your iPhone and you can upload it to YouTube and you can get experience that way. If you want to be an editor, you can do the same thing, right? So I think there's outlets there that outlets there now that didn't necessarily exist before. I think you can get your work out to so many more people. And so I don't think there's any reason not to take advantage of that. I think there's ways to reach people and ways to get feedback. And if that's something you're passionate about, I suggest following that passion and making it happen.
Um, so do you have any final advice or any personal projects that you might want to plug?
Me personally, like I said, I'm doing freelance producing, and I do on-camera work. I'm doing a series where I interview tech disruptors. I'm also doing sports analysis, sports play-by-play as well. And final advice, I would just say, I mean, anyone who's here at a film festival is obviously interested in this, and I think that's great. And so I would say, just kind of echo what I've been saying, is keep creating, keep having fun with it, and keep following your passion.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Mm.